So, quick overview. We'll start with an introduction of your team for the project. Then we'll have an outline of the process, essentially, what is the opportunity? What have we heard from the community to date? The project requirements that we are looking to meet, and then the draft vision itself and next steps. And then we look forward to your feedback and discussion. So this is the overview of the team. The Lewis companies are the development partner for this project that would be implementing a significant piece of it. And then there's a consultant team that is led by CSG, the lead planner for the project, Perkins and Will, the architects and urban designers, Elevate, who has been leading the public engagement portion of this project, and then Michael Baker, who will be looking at environmental and traffic. There is this great opportunity to redevelop the CYA property into a new development. You have the opportunity to create new diverse housing types for Norwalk, to provide new amenities to the immediate neighborhood and beyond, and to lead really this part of the county with a true TOD development. You all know the CYA site on Bloomfield is situated between Imperial, or just south of Imperial, and spans all the way to Zimmerman Park. If you go by there today, you'll see it's dilapidated. It's been underutilized for the past decade, and it's poorly maintained. It's really an eyesore. You really have an opportunity to redevelop that. This is the site context, looking from Bloomfield toward the Metrolink station. What's really important is there's a lot of existing things around this already. You have single-family homes to the south, on the right of the screen. You have single-family homes across Bloomfield, and then you have townhomes to the north at the Manor property. And then there's some commercial and hospital just to the immediate south on Bloomfield. This is a plan view from above. It's often forgotten how big this parcel is. It's relatively short on Bloomfield, but it's quite deep. And obviously because of the use it's inaccessible right now for the entire community, but it still is a large piece of property. As we started thinking about this, it was really important that Norwalk is such a place of opportunity, and this parcel allows you to extend that through especially the conversion of TOD principles to start providing new and additional benefits, new housing choices, a focus on health and wellness, all things that are important to all of us today. With that, I want to transition to the community engagement. As we set out, it was really important that this vision be a vision for Norwalk that is influenced by the Norwalk community. So it was important that the community was included in this process. And in particular, in the beginning of this year, we did a significant amount of outreach to help shape the vision for this property. Importantly, we wanted to talk to the people immediately surrounding the site, residents and stakeholders. We also wanted to talk to the larger community. And we wanted to convene a steering committee, which we have done, and engage your city commissions in this conversation. So what have we done to date? We've had 6 small community group meetings. We were planning to have a big public one, but COVID did not allow that, so we had a number of well-attended smaller meetings. We had 7 stakeholder meetings. We had a meeting with faith leaders, a farmers market pop-up, a steering committee, and then a forum for the different commissions to stop in and hear about the project. We've also set up a project website, sent mailers to the immediate neighbors, sent out e-blasts and text messages, and information has been on the city's Facebook page. Quick snapshot, a lot of engagement on social media, email blast to 1,100 folks, text message blast to 1,900 folks, stakeholder meetings and the like, gave us with what I'll present next, which is some of the key themes that we heard again and again from the community. We also had an online and physical survey that was handed out at the farmers market, was available through the project website and LinkedIn mailers. Some key things we asked about were, what would you like to see in terms of amenities? And these are in order of priority. Food and dining is something that came up again and again. community gathering spaces, bike paths, pocket parks, and retail. Those are things that people thought would be a great addition to their neighborhood. We also asked about housing choices. What are the types of housing that would be most beneficial? Housing for students, for veterans came up. Teachers, housing for seniors. Those two were actually tied in. Of all the respondents, 44% actually said they could imagine living here themselves in the future. That's a really high number. So what are some of the big themes? Housing choices. Affordability came up again and again, especially for the young and the old. We're hearing people being concerned that their children may no longer be able to stay in Norwalk given the affordability issues. We hear from young people who are telling us we're not in a position to buy a home right now. We need options to stay in the city we love. So that was one key theme, and we heard a lot and again about housing. Amenities were really focused around health. Heard a lot of consciousness around how important health is, beginning with access to food, restaurants, coffee shops, especially healthy foods, places to spend a little bit of time. And we heard it again and again that for certain things, people leave Norwalk because you don't have certain amenities here, but they'd love to stay here and keep the dollars here. And we heard a lot about connectivity. Access to the station was really important to people. Access to Zimmerman Park was seen as something important, and then safe walking and biking paths, places to do those things. Again, we heard again and again. Here's a bit of a bubble diagram. The bigger the bubble, the more often we heard about this. And again, the pink color about the housing choices, so housing for the younger generation, housing that's affordable to Norwalk residents, senior housing, multi-generational housing was really important. And then stores with healthy offering and food choices, restaurants, coffee shops, breweries, food halls, things like that, that would just allow you to spend more time in Norwalk in the recreation. And again, walking, biking, Zimmerman Park access. So that's what we heard, and it was very interesting how consistent these themes were. We needed to combine this with some of the things that we know we need to do for this project to have. So as Jesus mentioned in the opening, what's really important is that you, the city, has set the stage to be able to lead this visioning process yourselves. This is a state-owned property, but through the Assembly Bill, you are able to lead this process and help determine the future of this important site in your community. But because it is a state property, it is also subject to the Surplus Land Act, sometimes called SLA. And those requirements are set and need to be met for a property like this. And much of that has to do with California's larger housing crisis and the shortage of housing. So 80% of the development land on this site need to be dedicated to residential uses. And of all the residential units that are going to happen, at least 40% need to be affordable, meaning below market rate. So we know we need to meet the state housing requirements. We need to be sure that the affordable housing we are planning for can also meet the funding requirements for those types of projects. We know that there is a market for the market rate projects and that certain things will work and others won't. We need to be sure that traffic and circulation works in the best way possible, that county fire department requirements are met, and that we connect to existing infrastructure and have easements on the property. But you also have some real key opportunity. And again, this regional transit connection is a really important one. The opportunity to provide new open spaces and programs around health, providing enhancing activation on the site, so non-residential uses, connecting the community through new connections, say to Zimmerman Park, and again, providing additional community benefits. So this brings me to the draft project vision. This is where we are today. This is still being shaped. We want to have your input on this in particular. Norwalk Transit Village really will meaningfully connect all aspects of our busy lives. It'll no longer be just for living or just for commercial. It will connect those things so they're in a really short distance to each other and create an activity and enjoyable place to be. Norwalk Transit Village also provides choices that meet the diverse needs of your housing. And we heard a lot about the housing need, so that'll create new opportunities. And the Transit Village will adapt. We need to think forward as temperatures get more intense, as resources are an important consideration. We want to make sure we're not just planning today, but for the next decades. We've talked a bit about this transit-oriented development opportunity, and we just want to make it really clear what an amazing site this is. This site is on the Metrolink system and is actually on 2 lines, which allows access to downtown Los Angeles, the Civic Center there, huge employment opportunities. With a single-seat journey, you can be there. Similarly, Northern Orange County is really well connected to the site. And you can also go to Riverside. Great educational opportunities, in particular with, say, UC Riverside, can all be connected here in a lifestyle where people can choose whether or not they drive or they prefer to take Metrolink. As we wanted to plan this site, it was important to us to think beyond the site and think about how this site can connect your community fabric. There are a number of parks beyond Zimmerman, the school sites, the Civic Center, and what's happening here. Those all can be stitched together through this site and connected in a way that can be experienced walking, biking in the community. With that, right now, it's very difficult to get to Zimmerman Park. A lot of people actually don't even know the park exists because it's at the top of Shoemaker, and you don't really see it unless you're going there for a sports practice or a game. So this site can actually connect and allow that connection from Bloomfield, more people to enjoy that, and then connect the whole site through that. It also has, let me just go back there, the opportunity to say it's very close to the Metrolink station, but maybe we can make a more immediate connection that's even shorter. So thinking about a safe trail along the back of the property would cut that time short and make it even easier to use the Metrolink system to get around. The site has the opportunity to hold a significant amount of commercial and non-residential uses. That could include food and beverage, coffee shops, local serving shops, healthy food choices, community groups and youth programs as well. Groups like that like to have places where they can gather and meet, and again, we have the opportunity to do that here. Open space amenities are really important, so whether it's getting together with a family for events, to play, or to find a nice place to be outdoors on a hot summer day. Those are important things. We want to design the open spaces in such a way that they provide shade and the type of amenities that you want to facilitate all of that. And housing choices. Again, thinking about different types of housing, from small households or singles to large families that want to live multi-generationally, or people who are just looking for an affordable way to be in Norwalk. Those are all opportunities here at this site. And to really elevate walking and biking, to say that is built into the community. As we look at this slide, this is a first look at how the 32 or so acres at this site are used. What's really important is that a significant amount, or 28% or so, will be used to create new streets, sidewalks, bike lanes, and improving the Bloomfield frontage. That's a significant amount of land that's all going to be accessible to the community and help connect everyone through this site. The second set, about 15%, are going to be new parks, paseos, and a green buffer that creates a separation to the single-family homes to the south. And then the remainder, about 57% of the site, is actually new development land. And there, 3.1 acres are this non-residential activation, and then the remainder, the residential piece, is all in conformance with the state requirements. So as we look at a first conceptual site plan, and just to orient you, at the bottom right is Bloomfield. You're actually looking south and east towards Zimmerman. What you see is the pink. Right at Bloomfield is that commercial and non-residential activation, right? That's what's fronting on Bloomfield and can draw folks in with new offerings, places to sit down and have a cup of coffee, things like that. Then as you move in, you see blocks for residential, and those will be a mix. Those can range from townhomes to apartment buildings, all mixed together to create a diverse offering of different housing types. And then in the back we have Zimmerman Park, which will remain and be a great amenity connected to this site. A few key principles that we think are really important for this project are providing some flexibility for the development. We want to make sure that the development community and Lewis Group can come in and develop what makes sense in the market. We want an actionable plan. So providing some flexibility there is really important. We also know that to the north and the south in particular, in very short distance, the density drops on one side to single family, on the other to townhomes. So we want to make sure that we step down to that. that we create buffers and distances so that that isn't an abrupt transition. And we know parking is important, and we want to have parking that works for the project type. So right amount of parking for apartments, right amount of parking for townhomes, and those are slightly different. So we're going to get that right so that it works for everyone who lives there and doesn't have any spillover parking to the neighboring community. Another look at this site plan to show a few other things. This green buffer at the top center is really important. Single family homes have their backyards to this property, right? Right now it's very quiet. It's important to create that green separation and some verticality in that so that privacy is maintained. We have an opportunity for a tot lot and walking trails. Think about a great trail loop that you can walk and exercise. Maybe you can walk your dog here. A lot of folks in the community talked about that. There's a large central community park that's a great place for gathering, maybe for little markets, get-togethers, things like that. All the streets going east-west are multimodal, which means they have bike lanes, in addition to curbside parking and the travel lanes and the sidewalks that allow you to get around. And on the northern side, we have about a 2 to 3 story height of townhomes that is a great connection to the manor property, which is of a similar scale. As we look at this, the preliminary program says we're at about 600 to 700 new homes at 3 acres of community activating uses and a good amount of park and open space. And again, what's important is that we have residential parking, we have commercial parking, and we avoid that spillover parking effect. And this is an artist's rendering of what this might look like. Imagine you're on the east-west street, you're looking towards Zimmerman Park. You see a mix of different development types. Maybe townhomes on the left, apartments with ground floor commercial activation on the right. Wide sidewalks that are safe for families, walking trails, opportunities to ride your bike, a little plaza for convening and meeting your neighbors. What are the next steps? This is the project schedule. We are about still in the first third of the project, so we're still shaping the vision, looking for input from you, from the community. We have done quite a bit of community engagement already, but we look to do more. And then as we move forward through the year, we'll be looking to start that specific plan and all the documents that will take this vision and codify it so it can be approved by council. So what are the next steps? Again, continuing with community and stakeholder meetings, further information for your community, be engaged, make sure their voices are heard. Want to refine this vision with the input we receive, prepare that specific plan and the environmental documents that are required to do this, and then really set everything up so that this property can be transferred from state ownership to city ownership, and then allow that to the development to proceed. We're here to answer any questions and take down any comments that you have.
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. It was well done. I had been a strong proponent for a transit village concept here in Norwalk to accompany or enhance our metro transit center. So I think it's a great project. I have 2 questions. I'll start off the dialogue first. One is a concern I have is parking. I didn't see anything in here that addressed. I may be getting ahead of the project, but one thing wasn't discussed was the parking issue. 2, part of that was, since it is high density housing and we're going to be putting a burden on our infrastructure, if there was a traffic study done to address the possible congestion of traffic along Bloomfield and Imperial, as it is now, it gets pretty hectic and congested along that route. So if we can address that, and then the traffic flow of the project, it shows only either one way in and one way out, and then that'll definitely impact the traffic onto Bloomfield. So that needs to be addressed. And then second, we talk about design, we talk about potential concepts, but I think what the community has always asked is they want to see numbers, cost of the project, a land acquisition, how much is that going to be negotiated for on the city's behalf, or if the city's negotiated with the state, overall projections of the cost of the entire project? And then what type of a partnership would that be? Would it be a joint partnership between the city and the developer? Or would it be more of a land lease project? So I think that's what the community wants. They've always emailed and social media they always talk about cost and projections. I may be ahead of it, and this is just a point where you're just bringing the concept. But those are the two items that I have that need to be addressed either sometime as we move forward. Thank you.
Those are two excellent questions. I can take the traffic one first, and then I'd hand the second one off, if that's okay, Mr. City Manager. So the traffic and parking question is key and crucial. We need to get that right. We're still early, and we need to make sure that, yes, flow on the site and off the site works. So we need to we will study that more. Parking is also important. It's a balancing act on the parking. Parking has many positives, avoiding spillover. So we want to make sure we avoid that, but we also want to make sure that you have a TOD opportunity, and if you provide too much parking, it encourages more auto use and it kind of undermines that. So getting that balance right is going to be a key objective, and at a future meeting we want to have those answers for you. But those are excellent questions and not easy ones that we want to solve well for you.
Because in Norwalk, we had a number of parking issues throughout our community, and we're looking at resolving some of the preferential parking and addressing some of those sites that are being impacted by high density housing. For instance, we have a project on Pioneer and Excelsior that may potential impact the parking situation. But you're right. I think less parking on that site would be better to encourage the use of our public transportation, the bike route master plan. I think so. We got to find that balance, and if we can, as we move forward, we can start addressing those issues. And Jesus, you had the.
Yes, Mayor and members of City Council. So tonight it's presenting the design from what we heard from the community, and so there's a lot more work that will continue to happen, and cost and all of those will be part of the process that we don't have today, but we will have in the near future, depending on what the direction is from the City Council and additional input from the community. And the second question that I wanted to address is the cost for the land. We're working with the state, and we're working through that initial process of defining how to appraise the property, and that has begun and will continue for the next about 3 to 4 months, and we will be providing you with updates as that process continues to develop.
Thank you, Sus. I'll bring it back. Any other questions?
Mayor, I don't have a there is a question in here. So first, let me just state thank you, because I know this has gone back and forth for a very long time. The concept has changed a couple times. And then again, once, we had conversations with the fire department and access, et cetera. So I appreciate the team in working through all of those points to get us to this point today. I think what is very important to note is AB 518. Because before AB 518 was authored by Assemblymember Calderon, that property was going to go onto the governor's list of vacant properties. And if it landed on that vacant property list, we would have absolutely no say in what is happening. And this point and where we're at today would not exist. And we would not have a choice because it's state-owned property. Because of AB 518, at least we're in the conversation. We understand that there are requirements because it is state-owned property, but we are involved in the conversation. And I want to make sure that is continuously reminded to our residents, because that is a key fact of this particular development. With that being said, the only question that I have, because knowing that this is just a review at this point, when it comes to the state land transfer for the process, with our final conceptual idea of the project, this many housing, this many affordable, percentage of this, percentage of that. Do we have to get a sign off for the state to continue that project? Question being, here's our concept, here is the plan we're moving forward. Planning Commission, City Council, we all approve. Does the state have to approve that?
So the answer is yes. We're working with DGS and HCD, two acronyms that are state agencies, and we continue to work with them and have conversations with them on a regular basis as we progress with the project. So this concept has been provided to them recently, so they're under review as well, and we'll get some feedback from them.
Thank you. And the reason why I say that is just going back to AB, to the Assembly Bill, because in order for us to get this piece of land and be the first right of refusal, the state is involved to the T of getting final approval of what this project is going to look like. We have a say in what we can put there and the concept of what it's going to look like, etc. But the state is very much involved in this process. So that was my 2 cents for tonight. Thank you for all you guys have done to bring us to this point tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Perez. Any other of my colleagues? Questions or comments?
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Councilmember Rios.
Thank you. I know this is just we're reviewing and we're still having this ongoing dialogue and discussion regarding this potential, regarding the CYA property. So my question may be a bit premature. I don't know if we would be able to get an idea of what we're thinking of or what we can anticipate in terms of a timeline. I know there was a slide that showed next steps and ongoing work that needs to be done, including the community involvement piece. But can we get some type of idea? I mean, what are we thinking down the line as far as getting closer to a plan that's acceptable to the community, acceptable to others that may need to have a say in the process? What can you tell us, Jesus, or the presenter in this case? Any idea?
Yes, we did present a slide with the timeline, and we think that that's a pretty good representative of the timeline that the community can expect. And I don't have it memorized, but we can put it up if we have that. There it is. And Martin, you want to walk us through this?
I did. Okay.
Is that Gina Quisar, if you would like to take this?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Honorable Mayor and Council. So quickly, through our proposed timeframe, our anticipated timeframe. So like we said, we're going to continue. Well, okay, let me just back up and say our ultimate goal is to get approvals and city approvals, so Planning Commission and Council by third quarter of next year. But in the meantime, we're going to continue with public outreach for the entire process. We'll have, once we have a plan that's more realistic, we can kick off our specific plan and an EIR process. So working through all the entitlements, all the traffic study, all of the really informative studies that will let us know if we can really do what we want to do. And in the meantime, also the state land transfer process will occur. So all of this, we're hoping for, again, third quarter of next year. That's if everything goes as planned.
2023.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then immediately begin with the development activities. So, grading and pre-development and as soon as construction can begin, so that we're having an aggressive schedule.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely agree with that. And the reason I ask is, and I know things do not happen overnight, but when they do, it's like, well, when we finally reach, that vision that we all envision for the city and our future potential developments. But knowing that things take time, knowing that some things may not be within our control, I hope that we are also mindful of the fact that we may have to change direction quickly, and we got to be ready to take a different spin or, a different turn in the process. And so Jesus, I would just ask that as we continue moving down this path, that we are cognizant that there are some things that we may have to change or adjust to, and do that quickly so that we stay on some type of time frame. But also, if there's a change of plans because we can't do A, B, and C, but now need to do something differently, that we can just pivot into that, if that makes sense.
Sure. And that one of the great things about Martin's firm is that they build in flexibility into the design. So that was one of the things that we wanted, because obviously we're embarking in this design concept. We heard a lot of what the community wants. So now that we have put it together, now we will get some feedback again. So we will, my anticipation is that we'll get feedback and may change a little, from what's existing. So we're able to do that with the way that this has been designed.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Rios.
I wanted to comment.
Vice Mayor Valencia.
Yes. There we are. Okay. It's very exciting. I'm very excited about this. I did have some concerns, but the mayor brought up those concerns. If you're not a resident there, then where would you be able to park and, whatnot? Just don't want it to be too congested. If it's going to be in the style of the Santana Row, oh gosh, my face is off. Then I remember there being a parking structure or I think underground parking or some sort of facility, something to facilitate that. But I'm thinking also for visitors, I'm not going to live in that complex or in that area, but I'd like to go and visit some of the areas there and kind of how that would be taken into consideration. And I think someone mentioned like maybe the biking path and what have you. And I'm sure I thought that I saw somewhere some bike racks and, things to facilitate that as well. If I didn't, maybe it's wishful thinking, but maybe that'll get me on a bike back on. But no, just all kidding aside, this does seem like a very beautiful village, beautiful plans. And it's very exciting to have something like that in Norwalk. I think our median age right now, if I'm not mistaken, City Manager Jesus, is about 33 for our homeowners. Is that correct? Still? Okay.
Yes, for our residents.
That's a few years for our residents. And the younger they are, the more youthful they want our, some facilities to be. And I think this is right up the alley. Right up what the doctor ordered. But it's a very nice, they're very nice plans, and it is very exciting to watch and hopefully see into fruition soon. So I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Any other questions?
Mayor, I have a follow-up question. And Margarita, thank you for your comments on the concepts of timing. You bring up a great point, and I just want to refresh my memory as well as the community. In AB 518, isn't there a timing aspect on when we have to present at least the project? So that way, if I remember correctly, there was a timing to put all this together.
Right. Councilwoman Perez, the timing is that we have to 2025 to plan, design, and not necessarily build, but get the project started. But 2025 is a really a real date for us.
Thank you. And I think that plays a lot into the state pushing us to meet their requirements at the same time, but to get a project approved as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Again, thanks again for your report. I don't think there's any other further questions.
Thank you.
Jesus?
Yes, Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you for your time in looking at this project and how far it's gone with the input of the community. The goal is to, one, have housing choices for the community. I think this was a great project, a great property to do that. It's a transit-oriented development project that I think many residents within the community may want to take advantage of because of public transportation. And so that is a great opportunity for our residents to provide choices at that level. Also, we're very focused on the eco-friendly aspect of the development. And with that, it's been one of the goals of the team is to be able to provide some eco-friendly aspects to the project. And I think that will also bring additional attractiveness of those who want to live in a community as such. As you saw the images, it's a very modern look. It's a very, I think, unique look for a property that we can design, develop, and have for our residents. So with that, we'll continue to have community input, and we'll come back to you soon to give you some feedback.
Thank you, Sus.